Warning, the following video contains spoilers of the Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn main scenario questline. If you would rather experience the story for yourself and not get spoiled on anything, stop watching now. This is your one and only warning. Also, if you would prefer to start with the first part, here's a little thing. Click it. You return to the Waking Sands after besting Titan, and everybody's dead. What on earth happened? Well, through the ever-convenient power of the Echo, you learn that Livia Sas Junius brought a group of Garleans to invade the Waking Sands. She was charged with capturing the Warrior of Light, or as she calls you, the Icon Slayer, but decides to take Minfilia as a consolation prize. Then she has all the Scions killed, with the exception of all the plot-relevant characters, cause let's be honest, you're not gonna kill a main character before the first patch. Knowing of no other safe haven, you retreat to Camp Drybone, where you are offered sanctuary within a nearby church. Here you meet a man whose name I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce, so we're just gonna call him Mark. This does not last for long though, because Alphinaud comes to visit you, and oh baby does he have some exposition for you. He starts off full throttle by revealing himself to be the grandson of Louis-Sois Levoule. How do you say it? Yeah, that. Louis-Sois was a man whose actions actually led to the creation of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, but he went missing after the Battle of Cartona Flats. Now, as for what became of him, that's something I'm going to hold off on for another video. For now though, Alphinaud's focus is to rebuild the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, and in order to accomplish that, he plans to defeat the Primal Garuda. Word travels fast, and it's no secret that the Scions are down for the count, so Alphinaud hopes that by besting a Primal he can allay a lot of people's fears. There's a snag though, because Garuda has surrounded herself with a vortex of wind that keeps anyone from getting in too close. Fortunately for you, Alphinaud just so happens to have a solution to this problem, which conveniently is right in front of both of you. Turns out that guy's name is not Mark, it's Sid. The famous engineer Sid Garland was another individual who went missing after the calamity, and it turns out he was holed up in this church the entire time. Having now found him, Alphinaud hopes to use his airship, the Enterprise, to breach the vortex in order to challenge Garuda. Unfortunately though, Sid is also now suffering from amnesia. And we're just gonna cross that off the list of JRPG tropes really quick, and we're good. It's okay though, because despite still harboring doubts, Sid does accept that you and Alphinaud could use his help and agrees to come along for the ride. Sadly, his airship also went missing after the calamity, so you follow some rumors until the trail stops cold at the Kurthus Western Highlands. And that pun was actually unintentional. Kurthus houses the Holy See of Ishgard, but they are very reclusive and are not super inviting of outsiders. Fortunately, after doing some good deeds around the outskirts of the city, you gain the attention of the son of one of the four major houses of Ishgard, Horshaphon. Unlike the majority of Ishgardians, Horshaphon actually welcomes outside interaction and decides to help do as much as he can to get you in the good graces of his fellow countrymen. Thanks to his assistance, you learn that the Enterprise is currently locked away in the Dravanian-occupied fort of Stone Vigil. Dravanians are one of the two colonies of dragons that live on Eorzea, the other living to the far south on the continent of Mericidia. Part of the reason for Ishgard's isolation is the fact that they are currently engaged in war with the Dravanians, a conflict known as the Dragon Song War. But now I'm starting to get ahead of myself because we're going to be talking about that plenty later on, so for now just worry about the fact that there are a lot of dragons and they're all pretty cranky. Stone Vigil is the final leveling dungeon you are required to do for the 2.0 MSQ, and honestly it's not too bad to just go in and beat up a bunch of dragons. At the end of the dungeon, you find the Enterprise, but it's lying behind a big ol' sleepy boy. By this point though, Alphinaud has kinda had enough, so he's like, you know what, that's fine, just let sleeping dragons lie, we'll hop on the boat and go. Except then La Habrea shows up and he tells you that he thinks stealth tactics are for filthy casuals and he wakes the dragon up. I guess that there is an ice crystal too, but I do not know if it matters or not. After cleaning up the mess, everybody regroups in Gridania and gets ready to go face off against Garuda. Everyone shares a beautiful bonding moment while Sid starts up the Enterprise, where your character doesn't say anything and Alphinaud awkwardly holds Sid's hand like he wants to give him a smooch. The wholesomeness does not end there though, because now that he's back behind the wheel of his beloved airship, all of Sid's memories come rushing back to him. He reveals that he was originally from Garlemald and that much like his father before him, he was a very gifted engineer. In fact, his dear old dad was actually one of the researchers who worked on Project Meteor. Sid explains that he eventually grew very disillusioned with the Garlean path of conquest and decided to look for a more peaceful approach. This road led to him leaving Garlemald, where he would form the Garland Ironworks in order to share his Magitech research with all of Eorzea. Now reinvigorated by the return of his memories, Sid flies into the vortex so that you may confront Garuda.
Let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor.
I hope you like line of sight and killing ads, because that's kind of the crux of what you're going to be doing on this particular fight. Also, fun fact, it took me a full month to clear this Primal story mode back in the day, so I still have horrible PTSD every time I do her. Defeating Chickenfoot doesn't kill her like it did with Titan and Ifrit, but you do still get a wind crystal out of the deal, so that's kinda neat, I guess. This also means that you have officially completed your rock collection, although there's no time to celebrate. During all the commotion, you got a new addition to your audience in the form of an Imperial legate, him named Gaius von Balestar, and he's the leader of the 14th Imperial Legion that is currently stationed in Eorzea. He dishes out some sick burns on Garuda, which pushes her over the edge and causes her to reveal her master plan. Not before she makes a couple of awkward statements, though.
That foul stench! I see now. She has touched you!
Garuda then tempers some nearby Ul'dah and Kobold that she captured and forces them to summon Ifrit and Titan once more. She reveals that she intends to absorb the other two primals into herself, thus making her even more powerful and threatening, but Gaius has other plans. He reveals that Garuda's plan was actually a part of his own plan too, and he has La Habrea come in and drop off his new toy. The giant machine defeats and absorbs Ifrit and Titan both, before finally turning on Garuda and choking her chicken as well. Gaius introduces it as the Ultima Weapon, an ancient Allegan construct designed to absorb primal energy and use it as its own destructive power. Realizing you're hopelessly outgunned, Alphanod orders a tactical retreat until you can better assess the situation. You return to the Waking Sands and wind up regrouping with Ul'dah and Y'shtola, who were both out of town when the Garleans made their house call. While everybody is busy organizing their thoughts, you get a phone call from Hydaelyn, who congratulates you on completing your rock collection. She tells you that the crystals you gathered will shield you from the darkness, or something like that. I don't know, everything this rock says is really confusing. Realizing that you're short-handed to deal with Ultima Weapon, everyone decides it's best to go rescue the other Scions first so that you have more thinking power. And fortunately, Ul'dah and Y'shtola happen to know where everyone's being kept. They're currently being locked away and cast from Sentry, an Imperial outpost on the outskirts of Mordona. Knowing full well that you can't just charge blindly in, Sid comes up with a plan to sneak you in by disguising you as an Imperial. But you need two things to make this happen. The first is a series of Imperial uniforms in order to disguise you and your pals so that you can just kinda slip in unnoticed. And the second is your own Magitech Walker, which will help you bypass Garlean security with ease. While the latter does wind up being the more annoying of the two, it all ultimately works out and you and your pals are ready to go free of the rest of your pals. Meanwhile, you get this completely unnecessary scene of Livia beating up Minfilia. While Ul'dah and Y'shtola distract Livia, you're able to go find and free the rest of your friends before regrouping with them. Oh yeah, a couple people got mad I didn't introduce this guy, so this is Urian J. He's Louis Sua's student. Although he honestly doesn't really do a whole lot for a few patches, so yeah. But there he is, and there you go. And while we're at it, this is Tataru. She's also a character. Despite grouping back up though, everyone does wind up getting backed up into a corner, and it looks like things are pretty grim for you. Thankfully though, Sid stops by in the nick of time and is able to transport everybody to safety. And just in time too, because Gaius, Ultima Weapon, and La Habrea all show up right as you're leaving. And we're overdue for a traditional M. Night Shyamalan twist, so La Habrea pulls off his hood in order to reveal his true face.
It's Ansem.
Just kidding, it's Thancred. Ascians, as it turns out, do not possess physical bodies of their own, so La Habrea has had to possess Thancred this entire time in order to carry out his objectives. While this revelation catches all the Scions off guard, it's decided that it's better to go to the grand companies of Eorzea first in order to figure out how to deal with Ul'dah, which actually turns out to be the right call because Gaius has already decided to threaten them with Ul'dah unless they agree to his terms of surrender. They're all set to throw in the towel, but the timely arrival of the Scions picks up their spirits and makes them decide that it's time to fight back. Together, the Scions and the Grand Companies come up with Operation Archon, their plan for a counterattack in order to neutralize the threat of the Ul'dah weapon. You get to view this really awesome battle map, but I'm going to be honest with you, 90% of this is going to take place off camera, so honestly, why should you even care? Put simply, the plan is to put pressure on all the Imperial outposts across Eorzea simultaneously while the Warrior of Light gets ready to destroy the Ul'dah weapon themselves. Your role in the initial stage of Operation Archon is to go to Cape Westwind in Western Thanalan for an assassination. You square off against Ratatouille, but gear scaling was not kinda him at all. Oh no. With one of Gaius' strongest allies out of the picture, you head to Northern Thanalan in order to prepare for your next stage of attack. With Ratatouille having gone kablooey, the Maelstrom and Twin Adders are set up to intercept any reinforcements while the Immortal Flames make their main push on Castrum Meridianum. But that's really just to be a distraction. The main plan is for you and Cid to sneak into the Castrum during all the chaos so that you can disable all of its security measures. Before you go inside, Flame General Ralbon and Minfilia both give everyone a huge anime speech about camaraderie and teamwork and friendship and all good things in anime. The battle begins and you and Cid go inside the castrum where you do nothing but cause a huge ol' ruckus. This is one of 2 8-player dungeons you have to work your way through in order to finish the story, so don't worry, after this you get a short little break while you prep for the last dungeon. Castrum Meridianum was also the hotspot for farming tomestones back when the game relaunched in 2.0. Not so much anymore though, especially since you cannot skip the cutscenes in this or the following dungeon anymore. Your hand in the chaos does not go unnoticed though. And by the end, Livia says Junius steps down directly in order to confront you and Cid so that you don't reach the Praetorium, and by extension, Gaius. Livia explains just how much Gaius has sacrificed for her and the rest of the Imperial 14th Legion, and that she would follow him to the ends of the earth, sacrificing everything, even her own life. Livia hopes that by stopping you, she can gain even more favor with Gaius, and hopefully, maybe someday, he'll hold her hand. Livia, you foolish child. Holding hands is how you get pregnant, and we can't have any of that. Unfortunately, your disagreement goes overboard and you kinda sorta kill her. Whoops. The good news is with Livia out of the picture, you have a clear path to the Praetorium, so Cid raises up the airship and you set off. Not too long after arriving, you run to Gaius, and he and Cid reminisce about the old days while you just kinda sit off on the side like the third wheel you are. Gaius pieces out while you fight a big metal boy, but Cid hangs back because he wants to practice his hacking skills for the Eorzea raids coming in Shadowbringers. I mean, can you honestly blame him? Look at this stuff, it's an absolute mess. Yep, there it goes. Yup. During his hacking adventures, Cid learns that the Magitech armor you used to break into Castrum Sentry is very conveniently being held in this very same facility. So you mount up and use it to breach the innermost sanctum of the Praetorium. Unfortunately, this also overloads its core, so you cannot take it any further with you. Continuing forward on foot, you run to Gaius' last remaining general, Nero Tolls Sceva. Cid and Nero reminisce about their old schoolboy days, and Nero reveals that he constantly felt that he was in Cid's shadow and he was always kinda salty about that. Even after all of the work and research that Nero put into reactivating the Ul'dah weapon, he still feels that Gaius would rather have Cid as his engineer than him. Hoping that Senpai will notice him, Nero whips out his hammer and prepares to bonk you like his name is Bam Bam. But we know how that song and dance goes. Now I hope you like elevators, because you are going to be seeing a whole lot of them for the next 20 minutes or so. Your ride down gets interrupted by Gaius von Balsar, who decides the time has finally come to have a heart-to-heart with you. Gaius explains that he does want to reach a peaceful resolution, but he does in fact feel that Eorzea lacks the proper leadership it needs in order to properly combat the primal threat. Then he turns into a Super Saiyan.
This
This is what is known as a Super Saiyan that has ascended past a Super Saiyan.
You have a really cool and intense battle until the elevator decides it's just kinda done going, and then Gaius sheathes his weapon. He's actually super impressed by how strong you are, but he thinks it's a total waste that you use it to help others like some sort of fool. Deciding to test the true limits of your strength, Gaius climbs inside of the Ultima weapon.
And this is to go even further beyond!
You start riding another elevator, only this time it's going up as you're ready to fight Ultima. No, but I mean seriously, why all the elevators? Just give Ultima Weapon a root beer and let him chill in the living room or something, I don't know. Although initially immune to your attacks, Heidelin's Blessing allows you to strip off Ultima's armor and drain the primal essence from his body. Which, I mean, quite frankly, I could have recorded footage of that fight, but I'm not about to do MSQ roulette, are you nuts? Gaius is shocked that he's losing, but it's okay because La Habrea shows up to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, by which I mean he about to blow everything up. He reveals that the Ultima Weapon's core is an ancient artifact known as the Heart of Sabak, even older than the Algan Empire. He reveals his plan to have the ultimate weapon, Ultima Weapon, use the ultimate magic, Ultima. And really, Gaius' actions were to just help quicken the awakening of the core so they could cast Ultima, and that he was just using Gaius... Hold on a minute. A being of pure darkness who possesses a stereotypical silver-haired edgy boy who used another villain in order to advance their own schemes. Holy crap, it is Ansem! You know what? I don't even care that I know how to pronounce his name, we're just gonna call him Ansem from now on. Ansem activates Ultima, and this gets Gaius all cranky because this was not according to Keikaku. Heidelin shields you from the brunt of the blast though, and Gaius decides it's finally time to see who really is the strongest between the two of you. After a hard-fought battle with some really awesome music though, you wind up coming out victorious, and then Ultima just kinda blows up. Ansem shows up in the aftermath to trash-talk Gaius before turning his attention to you. He laments that Heidelin has upset the balance of the world, and that only by summoning his own god can the world truly be saved. Worrying about you becoming a bigger obstacle, Ansem decides to take matters into his own hands and attacks you himself. This is the final battle of the 2.0 MSQ, making it the hardest battle in the game, because as we all know, the final battle is always most difficult by default. However, with the help of Heidelin, you are able to avoid near destruction and conquer Ansem. Then the two of you get bazorped in front of Heidelin for your final showdown. You use your crystals to bust out a crazy crystal sword, and then you relive the cutscene you saw at level 1. Only this time you use the sword to cut the Thancred out of Ansem. Then the spirits of all your friends show up and you all combine forces and charge down Ansem in a crazy light-based anime attack. And then you all just knock the bananas out of him. Did you know that artificial banana flavoring is actually based off a species of banana that has gone extinct? You're left in a burning building with an unconscious Thancred, and all seems grim until your good old pal Magitech Armor shows up. Seems the little boy has taken a liking to you because now you can keep him as a mount for use outside of the dungeon. As you leave the chaos, you see Gaius get up and lament his losses. Then he blows up! Although you don't actually see a dead body, and we all kinda know the rule about JRPGs and dead bodies. Meanwhile, outside, all of your friends are worried about your safety. In fact, they are so worried that Papa Limo almost says a swear.
Damnation!
Hey, watch your fucking mouth, there are kids watching. Minfilia uses her magic MacGuffin to talk to Heidelin, and Heidelin says, nah, don't worry bro, I gotcha. At the last second, you and Thancred escape the destruction, and everybody celebrates your return and well-being. Sometime afterwards, everyone convenes in Mordona, where the Grand Company leaders vow to do everything in their power to better unite the realm. Except for Stuart Little. Because fuck Stuart Little. And then they say the title of the game, and you know what that means. Also, fun fact, if you sit through the credits, you actually get this roll call that lists all the people who played during 1.0. 1.0 players also apparently get a little bonus cutscene where Heidelin returns all their memories from 1.0, which is actually kind of a neat little tie-in. As previously stated though, I did not play during 1.0, so sucks to suck, I guess. After the credits, you get to hear what sounds like a giant dragon throwing a giant temper tantrum. Huh, I wonder who that could possibly be. You also eavesdrop on Ansem and the rest of the Asians as they proclaim the name of their god, Zodiark.
throw wide the gates.
Well, that does it for 2.0 MSQ. But oof, is there still a ways to go before this train pulls into the station. But hey, if you liked what you've seen so far, you can slap that little subscription button down there across the face. Or don't, I'll probably just shove the next video in your face anyway. Also, if you're making the foolish mistake of wanting to hear my ramblings outside my videos, you can find little links to my social media in the description below. Either way though, we've made it most of the way through A Realm Reborn, although we might have to make a couple side trips pretty soon. That's all I'm gonna say for now. You'll find out soon enough what kind of mistakes I'm making. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep again. Later.